They know what they're doing out there, right? The people in office, you know?
Well, I mean, Tulsi can speak to that better than anybody.
I don't know Mayor Biss. I may have met him in passing, but this has been one of the big failures around the aftermath of the wildfire on Maui, is this total vacuum of information from government officials to the people. And in that vacuum, obviously people have all kinds of ideas or theories or this or that, but people were left without any kind of communication from anyone in a position of authority to provide help for days and weeks. And it created massive problems. And so, the immediate line of response needed to come from the county and from the mayor and from their emergency response director. And unfortunately, they did not communicate. They're still not communicating. There's still a huge lack of transparency and therefore an increasing level of distrust in any of the levels of government that should be bending over backward to answer questions and to say, hey, here's what's going on every single day. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's what we're having a hard time doing. Whatever the case may be, it's been a major problem from the beginning.
Do you think that this is because of a complete lack of preparedness, that this is an unprecedented type of disaster? It never happened before. It happens and they just weren't prepared. They don't know what to do. And it's incompetence?
I think that is very true. And there's, in hindsight, there are things going back Maui has experienced drought year after year after year. Brush fires are a common occurrence, especially on the west side of Maui. Where Lahaina is, the side of the island that was most impacted by this. It is, being prepared for wildfires on Maui is something that if you look at their, emergency assessment documents, it's mentioned almost as a bit of an afterthought. Maui Fire has been vastly undermanned and under-resourced for quite some time. So there's all these different things you can look at from a preparedness level that should have been addressed long before. But from, the county officials, yes, they were completely overwhelmed and unprepared for this unprecedented wildfire. It's the worst wildfire our country has seen in over 100 years. But the problem is, once you get to that point, like, oh, shit, this is really, really, really bad, not only in the hundreds of lives lost in that fire, but the surrounding communities of people who survived, but who went without power, who went without any cell phone signal, any ability to communicate with people, who didn't have, all of the gas stations in their neighborhood, they were empty. There was no way to get gas. They couldn't get food. They couldn't get clean water. The water supply systems were contaminated. I mean, there was disaster upon disaster that came in the aftermath of the fire that went unaddressed. And my biggest, I went there a few days after the fire happened. Maui was my district for 8 years when I served in Congress, and had a lot of friends there and went out to those affected communities. And what I heard over and over again was no one from the county, the state, or the federal government has shown their face in our community. It is neighbors helping neighbors, families helping families, people on the island of Molokai, which they don't have much on their island. Everything comes in by barge. They're loading up whatever they have in their general store on these little boats and running them over to West Maui on a private boat dock, because that was the only place that they wouldn't be blocked from bringing food and water and medical supplies.
Now, why are people being blocked? I keep hearing that about people being blocked. Is it because they haven't gotten an accurate death count? Is it because they have to make an assessment of how much was damaged, and it's so massive, it's so vast that they haven't been able to do that yet? Like, why is it being blocked?
Things are being opened up now. I think people are able to get in and out of the West Maui area. I understand that the historic town of Lahaina is still being blocked off, and they're working on reopening it as we speak. But in the couple of weeks after the fire, I don't have a good answer why they continue to block the roads again to those surrounding communities. Why they blocked people like Kai Lenny and others from using their jet skis and boats to try to bring supplies in through the water. You could say, well, we were trying to secure the area, but you're blocking friends and family from coming in and bringing necessary supplies, literally doing supply runs. So, I jumped on a plane that was doing supply runs from Kahului, the main airport on Maui, out to this tiny little airport that serves that community. And that was, for a lot of days, the only way that they could get supplies brought in. I don't know. I really don't know. But again, this goes back to, why aren't you communicating to people what's going on and why you're doing what you're doing? All the result of their decisions left people and families and communities stranded in their most dire time of need. And the mayor didn't go out and show his face until almost 2 weeks after the fire happened.
That's insane.
It's crazy.